Hello, my name is Bee and I'm the Moon Lodge Mystic. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a pick a card reading that is going to look at what energies are coming in for this autumn season, and also I'm going to be doing a small overview over things that we can do to make the most out of autumn and take care of ourselves. I'm super excited to get started, so let's jump right in. Hello and welcome to the reading. Today I want to look at what's coming in for the season of autumn for you guys. Before I get to the reading, I'm going to go over the season of autumn in general and what it is good for, what are some good practices to consider, and so on. Then you'll be able to choose a pile. The reading is specifically going to be focused on the time period from the autumnal equinox to winter solstice, so from September 23rd to December 21st of this year. Before I start, I do have a small disclaimer. This is a general reading for entertainment purposes only. Watching my content does not constitute an advisory relationship such as therapy or legal counsel. My readings are for confirmation of what you already intuitively know for yourself, not for getting answers. General readings like this are like forecasting the weather for the entire planet. I can say that it is summer in the northern hemisphere, but summer looks very different from region to region. So please use your best judgment and take what resonates and leave the rest. And now we are going to jump into autumn. So I know that we all really love autumn here in the witchy community because it means Spooktober and Halloween and pumpkin spice is on the menu. One of my favorite things about autumn is going to the pumpkin patch and having hot apple cider. I get to go to the corn maze. I really love that stuff. And you know, it's just so beautiful. I love the leaves. I love the way the air gets to be very crisp and also smells earthy. I love the smell of the leaves once they're on the ground and they're really decaying, that earthy scent. I really like that. And of course, you know, I really love wrapping myself up in my electric blanket for about 9 months, which is about how long we get rain and cold temperatures here in Western Washington. But every season has its own opportunities for spiritual growth and health, and I wanted to get into some of that here. I personally have found myself really shifting over the years into a mindset where I want to live in accordance with the natural rhythms of my environment. And something that has really helped me do that is learning about Taoism and Chinese medicine. Now, I want to be very clear that I'm not a practitioner of Chinese medicine and I'm not here to give medical advice, and that's not what I'm going to get into here. But I just want to share some of the philosophy that I've learned through exploring this modality and how it can be applied to our transition into autumn here up in the northern hemisphere. In Chinese medicine, the season of autumn is associated with the metal element, which governs the lungs and the large intestine. These organs are associated with the emotion of grief, which has a lot to do with processing attachment and letting go. If you think about the lungs and the large intestines, these explicitly are organs that eliminate waste. We eliminate toxins through our breath, we breathe them out, and we also eliminate through our large intestines. Everybody poops. So that's kind of where we get this concept of letting go and releasing, and the experience of loss correlates to that through grief. Therefore, autumn gives us an opportunity to go inward and examine what we might be holding onto that is ready to be released and let go of. We are transitioning from the carefree and excitable energies of summer, where everything is go, 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 and go be outside and go do all the things. And we are preparing for the slow, dark winter, especially in Washington, where it gets dark at like 2 p.m. during solstice. So in order to ensure that we have enough internal resources available to get ourselves through the introspective nature of winter, we need to release people, objects, and patterns that have fulfilled their purpose in our lives and are ready. We have digested them, we have metabolized them, we have gotten what we needed from them, and it's time to let it go. When we take the time in autumn to let go of attachments, we create space for us to sit with ourselves and reflect in the winter. And then, based on that reflection, we come prepared in spring to meet new experiences and opportunities that are in alignment with what we've learned about ourselves over the previous year. Some of the ways you can support this natural process is through journaling and breathing exercises, which strengthen the lungs. Yoga, breathwork, qigong, or tai chi, and mindfulness meditation are all great activities for the lungs because it focuses on deep circular breathing, where you breathe in and fully expand your abdomen and your chest all the way up to your throat, and then you're exhaling all of that out in a making full use of the full space of your lungs. Going on walks regularly to clear your mind is also helpful. Of course, all of this is really great to do year round. You don't have to wait for autumn to do yoga and breath work and meditation. Honestly, it's great if you're doing that year round. But in this season in particular, you might want to be more conscious about how you might be experiencing challenges or emotions that would really benefit from these practices, and just making some extra time to devote to these things so that you're taking care of yourself. Other ways you can support yourself through this time is by dressing warmer for the weather. You don't want to be exposing yourself to the elements as it gets colder. This can bring on illness. Eating more warming foods, especially produce that is in season, local produce, which if you live in an area where you have a year-round farmers market, those are really great resources for being able to understand like what's seasonal produce and being able to obtain it. If you don't have access to farmers markets, that's fine. It's a luxury, frankly, and we can't always go to the farmers market, but most grocery stores have a type of seasonal rotation. I know it's a little weird because at least in the United States, a lot of the produce that we see in the grocery store is the same year round. Like there's not a lot of seasonal variety, and a lot of that is because of artificial light and greenhouses and stuff that enable farmers to produce seasonal vegetables and produce year round. But some seasonal produce for autumn is like winter squash, mushrooms, apples, and pretty much, all the things that you associate, like pumpkin spice, that's ginger, cinnamon. Those things are really great to incorporate into your diet during this season. Try not to exert yourself the same way that you would during summer, because this is a slowing down period. Um, if we're going with the rhythm of nature, summer is when everything is super active. That's when bees are producing the most. That's all about working hard and really exerting yourself. Autumn is when you reap your harvest and you tuck it away in preparation of winter. So everything is shifting from an external orientation to going more inward and focusing on slowing down and taking stock, taking inventory of what's going on for you and what's going on in your life, rather than manifesting and making things happen and doing all the things. So, be gentle with yourself. Let yourself feel sadness if it comes up. Do these things with strengthening your lungs and your large intestine in mind. Eat nourishing, healthy meals. And that's it. That's what I've got for this autumn season. go ahead and bundle into a cocoon. 'Tis the season. Wrap yourself up, be warm and cozy, and you'll do just great. So that's all I've got. Thank you so much. Let's move on to our tarot reading. All right, here we are. These are our 3 piles. I'm going to be using all of these decks plus a couple others in these readings. We're going to just be drawing cards to kind of get a timeline of events that is going from autumn into winter, how things are going to progress over this period of time, and also get some cards for figuring out like what needs to be released and what things are going to come into your life as a result of releasing those things. So like, what is this making space for come spring? And then we will also be getting some just some healing cards and self-care cards to kind of give you some resources that will help get you through this time period. So I'm going to select some crystals to put on these piles from my little crystal pile here. Okay. I think I want this citrine to go here. This bismuth is going to go here. And here we've got a big hunk of carnelian for over here. So this is pile 1, this is pile 2, and this is pile 3. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to choose your pile, and then we will go on. It's really helpful to take a moment, take a deep breath, and maybe ground and root in. So we can do that right now. And in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and out 2, 3, 4, 5, and in 2, 3, 4, 5, and out 2, 3, 4, 5. Now that you've taken a couple of deep breaths, let your mind focus on your belly. Feel your internal energy and feel that energy grounding you into the earth, shooting roots out through the soles of your feet. And your roots are pulling in energy from the earth, and you feel this energy traveling up your roots and traveling through the soles of your feet as if your feet are breathing in the energy. And with that inhale, you feel that energy get pulled up into your whole body and come out through the crown of your head, blooming like a flower and pouring out energy into an egg shield that comes around you. And with that quick grounding exercise, you may now call upon your guides to help guide you towards the pile that is going to have a message that you need to hear, or that will be of most benefit to you. And here you go. I'm letting you choose now. Okay, hopefully you've chosen your pile by now. If not, then you can pause the video and spend more time trying to center yourself and focus on your intention. But otherwise, we're going to move on to pile 1, so see you in a few minutes. Alright, hi pile 1. If you chose the bismuth, this is your pile, and let's get right into it. So we are just going to draw some cards to get an idea of what timeline of events is going to progress over this autumn season for you. So let's get started. The cards are hesitating a little bit, so my first instinct is to ask you if you're maybe blocked or feeling stuck. And let's just keep going and see what comes out. So what's going on for pile 1 this autumn season? From the autumn equinox to winter solstice, what's happening during that period of time? What does pile 1 have to look forward to this autumn season? Ooh. Nope, that one didn't fully come out. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Definitely something feels restrained, and maybe there's some impatient energy, like you wish something was moving faster, but something you might be feeling held back just based on how these cards are coming out. But after an initial stuck phase, things are starting to flow a little bit more steady now. Maybe towards the end of the season, things are going to move, but it might not be until late October or early to mid-November that you start feeling things shift. Ooh, excuse me. If you hear a jingle, that's just my dog. He just got up from his nap. His name is Gilgamesh, so... Oh, here we go. That one flipped out upright. So... Okay, let's flip these over. We have the Ten of Swords, the Seven of Pentacles, the Queen of Swords, the Six of Pentacles, the Magician, and then the Eight of Cups. Very interesting. Okay, sorry, I had to step away for a moment. Let me center these. All right. Maybe a bit more like this. Okay. So Pile one, I see that at the start of this season, you have been through it. You are starting off feeling really defeated. I'm so sorry that you're feeling this way, but I do see good things coming. I feel like the person here is just so burnt out. Not just from, it's not like necessarily burnout from doing too much, like you'd see in like the Ten of Wands, but burnout from like just feeling like you've really given your everything to a situation, or like feeling despair and hopelessness. It's such a hard place to be in. I totally understand. I've been there myself. But I see this person getting up and still trying. The Seven of Pentacles is about investing effort and a lot of work into a goal. And, you know, even though you are feeling very Ten of Swords at the start, the progress that you've been making is still there. Like, you've still accumulated all of this growth, and experiencing this moment here doesn't take away from what you've already invested. Like, the work you've put into your goal is still, it still counts for something. And, you know, I see with the Queen of Swords that there is a need to set boundaries with people who suck your energy. That's what I get from that. And, you know, the Six of Pentacles is all about reciprocation, and I feel that, you know, maybe this Ten of Swords situation is caused by you giving too much of yourself to relationships and people and communities and environments that really don't deserve it. Or perhaps, you know, maybe deserve isn't the way I'd put it. It's more like it's, you have something else that you need to focus on right now besides these other people and their problems. You are working towards something. You, towards the middle of the season, you put in boundaries in place, and you decide that you are going to balance the scales in your life. You're going to make sure that you're not giving more to people and things than what you're getting in return, and that you're really only going to give what needs to be given. Like, say you have a friendship, and you might have a friend that really they need your attention a lot. They seem to be really in need of lots of attention, and maybe a little codependent, and maybe in this relationship you start to place in boundaries. Right now I'm feeling drawn to the clouds on the Queen's Cape. So yeah, the clouds on her cape. You're reaching for the clouds. You have dreams that you need to actualize. And sometimes, in order to make your dreams come true, you have to not give people as much of yourself as they might have been used to previously. So that means taking back some of your internal resources and letting them be resources that you use for yourself, because you are embarking on a big goal here with the Magician and the Eight of Cups. The Eight of Cups is, for me, really a card about taking the left-hand path, or the hero's journey. And the hero's journey, which was articulated by Joseph Campbell, who is a phenomenal academic on mythological studies. He traveled around the world and he learned about the myths of different cultures all around the world. He really is one of the pioneers of comparative mythology. And he noticed common themes amongst all the myths of the world. And he called this the hero's journey. And this is where the hero of a myth experiences a call to a calling, basically to fulfill his soul's purpose. And often this calling, it's something that in the beginning the hero always resists it. And I think that kind of was expressed through the shuffling that we saw earlier, where there was a lot of hesitancy in the cards to come out. The hero's journey is all about that. The hero always hesitates the first call to embark on this journey. And it's later on where he realizes that he can't ignore this call and that he has to leave behind his home and his family and things to go explore this calling that he's experiencing. And through those experiences, he comes to a greater expansion of awareness for himself and his own power. Probably the most accessible example of this being put to use in storytelling is the Star Wars franchise. George Lucas, like, pretty much straight up modeled his story of Luke Skywalker after the hero's journey, and you see that Luke at first doesn't want to accept that he has Jedi powers, and he wants to stay home with his family, but eventually a crisis occurs where I hope by now that I'm not spoiling Star Wars for people, but his family is killed, and from then on he realizes, like, you know what, I can't ignore this, I have to go on this journey. And that's kind of like how he gets into all of this the events of Star Wars. Now I'm sorry if I said anything wrong. I haven't really watched Star Wars since I was a child, but that's how I remember it. And he goes through all of these trials. The biggest one is when Luke briefly turns to the dark side, and this is kind of like the journey into the underworld in a mythological sense. And you confront your shadow, and then you assimilate the shadow. That's when you see Luke wearing the dark clothes. But at the end, he breaks through and claims his inner authority and power and fights against the Dark Lord, who ends up being his father. And basically, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The hero's journey is all about going on this left-hand path type of journey to claim your power, and you end up having to leave behind all of your old preconceived notions about yourself and your self-limiting beliefs in order to go and do that. And I think that's what these cards are kind of pointing to. So yeah, in summary, the start of autumn isn't looking too hot. There's a lot of tiredness here and emptiness. I keep coming back to emptiness and feeling totally drained. And I really am so sorry that you have to start out the season this way. But you are working on something, and you have been working on something for a while, and it's about to bear its results for you over the course of this season. And after you put in place your boundaries and really start to focus on bringing your energy back to yourself, back to home, you start making conscious decisions to only engage in reciprocal relationships where you are receiving what you put into it, not constantly being taken from. Once you do that and you've recovered your resources, you will be able to make use of your power and really initiate. The magician is all about initiation and initiating a idea or a creative pursuit, and having everything that you need to be able to do that. And through that, you will have the strength to walk away from a bad situation and go on to follow your calling, basically. So let's go on to the next cards. So this is the Seed and Sickle deck. I really like it a lot. And sorry for the shakiness. It uses 2 booklets. We are going to be reading from the Dusk booklet, which is all about releasing and going inward. And because of the theme of autumn, we are going to be looking at what is ready to be released from your life. So let's see what cards come out. Okay. What is so hard for you to let go of? What are you hanging on to? What does pile 1 need to release in order to access these beautiful gifts that are waiting for them? Whoa! Wow! That just exploded out of there. Foxglove. And are there any other things, any other messages for what pile 1 needs to release? Okay. Cornflower. And let's do one more. I'm feeling like one more. What needs to be released from pile 1's life? What does pile 1 need help releasing? I feel like, you know, whatever it is you're releasing, you're going to become aware of it towards the middle of the season, and then you're going to finally release it at the end. So let's see. Whoop. Okay. Hops. And let me grab the booklet real quick. Okay, so here's the booklet. It's so pretty. I really love this deck. And let's start with Foxglove. All right. So I'm holding it up so you can pause and read this if you want, but I'll also read it out loud. Foxglove is one of the plants said to protect a babe against being replaced by a fairy changeling child. Perhaps you feel as though you do not recognize yourself anymore, or the path that your life is taking, but it's not too late to grab hold of that stranger and banish them. Indulge in a pastime you haven't picked up for a while, or take a walk down a familiar road to remind yourself of who you used to be. Or perhaps you like this new self that has emerged and want to embrace it. It is natural to change and grow. So can your own identity. And then Cornflower. So you can pause here if you want to read it. And then the cornflower is remarkable for its beautiful blue petals, which create striking clusters of color against the green and yellow of agricultural fields. So perfectly bright are they, it is said parts of the sky once tumbled to the ground, forming these beautiful patches of blue in the grass. The cornflower reminds us that it is not a bad thing to be unique and stand out. What may seem out of place to some may be a source of great and unexpected beauty to others. Okay, and 26, Hops. Here we go. Again, pause here if you'd like to read it. The hop vine speeds ahead through life, voraciously grabbing at each new hurdle it must conquer. But as it grows, it leaves behind clusters of flowers, and these take life much more casually, with the vine having done the hard work already. They can now reap the benefits. Hot flowers are a great treatment for anxiety and insomnia. Step back, find a spot in the sun, and soak up that restful energy. Okay, need I say more? This is really, for me, just confirming what I was picking up on about needing to kind of do your own thing and kind of withdraw from things and people and environments that are draining you of your internal resources, and being able, to recognize that it is okay to outgrow people and outgrow environments and outgrow things that you used to be really attached to. This again comes back to what we covered in the autumn season, is that this is a period for releasing and turning inwards to figure out and take stock of ourselves and what would really help us shift towards our authentic path. And with that, let's look at what blessings are coming for you. So we're going to use the same deck, but this time we are going to read from the other booklet, which is the Dawn booklet. So let's see. These go over here. Okay. What blessings are going to be allowed? Okay, how about this? What space is going to be created for pile 1 as a result of releasing what is being hung on to? What is this making space for? What are we making space for in pile 1's life? What will releasing these old patterns and environments make space for? What blessings are coming in to pile 1's life over the course of this autumn season? Okay. All right. I can tell you one thing. The blessings are going to come really fast after you do this work, after you do this hard release work, which I know it's really hard. Okay, let's look. We have cherry and asphodel. And then we have daisy. Oh, what beautiful cards. Okay, let's get into the other book. And let's start with cherry. Cherries are one of the earliest trees to bloom and one of the first to produce fully ripened fruit. With laden branches throughout the year, it's truly the symbol of productivity and abundance. Now is the time to engage in your own season of productivity, even if others are at rest. The circumstances have all come together to provide the perfect setting for addressing tasks you've been putting off lately. So you can pause that there if you'd like to read it or take a screenshot. And then we're moving on to asphodel. And take a pause there if you'd like to read this. And then I'll read it out loud. The Mazzari of Corsica carry wands of asphodel into the dream realm. There they hunt the souls of locals in order to predict who will fall ill or die in the next year. Drawing this card is a sign that you too will have to make some big predictions soon. They'll have important effects on your life, so don't make them lightly, but don't take forever either, or someone may end up making them for you. 25, Daisy. Pause if you'd like to read. Okay. Spring isn't the only time for a flurry of creativity. Daisy, the day's eye, is a vivacious little hard worker who makes sure her flowers are in season practically all year round. A second wind of productivity is on the horizon, and it's not too late to make the most of it. Take a deep breath and get ready. It's time to make something beautiful. I'm just so amazed at these messages that are coming out. So yeah, you know, basically the first part of the season is going to be slow moving because it's time for you to get rid of what's not serving you anymore. And afterwards, you're going to have so much energy available to you to really go after what you want. And you know, what you want might not be what everyone jives with and might not be what the people in your life agree with, but it doesn't matter because you are the one living your life. They don't have to live your life. And whatever makes you happy, if you are really doing something that truly fulfills you, I guarantee you it will not matter that other people don't care or think it's stupid, because you will feel so at peace with yourself that all the hang-ups about like, what does someone think of this? What if someone won't like that? Or what if they judge me? All that stuff kind of tends to go away when you choose to live what you were designed and born and strive to live. Like, you know, you can't mess it up when you're making choices based on what fills your heart up. And you know, I think you are going to head into winter, and you know, you might be withdrawing from the whatever this was over here, that environment, but you are going to blossom with these cards. You are just going to blossom into a really productive period for yourself, and all this hard work that you made during the beginning of the season, it's going to pay off after you pick up your wand and journey on through to your heart's desire. And you know, since we've been talking a lot about release work during this week reading and the autumn season, I'd like to pull some healing cards. That is from the deck Whispers of Healing. This deck really helped me a lot during dark times in my life, and I just feel like the messages are so gentle and the images are really profound. Because it is such a huge deck, I don't do the manic shuffle that I do with the other decks, so I will just intuitively cut this and draw 2 cards. Well-being. Mental repetition. The mental repetition card is about thoughts that go on repeat that really are just sucking the life out of you. And, you know, I feel like that's kind of getting at what's going on with the Ten of Swords, and maybe the message you need to hear right now is that you can stop, you know, the repetition and try. I'm going to pull the book for this one. Mental repetition. And I'm just going to put this here so you can pause and read if you'd like. Mental repetition can improve your attitude and help you feel your best. This card suggests you are holding on to limiting beliefs. It is time to embrace a healthier philosophy about your life. Holding yourself to impossibly high expectations, fearing failure, or asserting an inability to control your emotions are examples of limiting beliefs. You may have latched on to some unhealthy beliefs or thought patterns. Just like physical fitness training, mental healing takes repetition and practice. By repeating positive and uplifting thoughts, you can shift away from limiting and unhealthy beliefs. As you further your mental well-being, you become more focused, confident, composed, and prepared for the unexpected. You can develop coping mechanisms for just about any occurrence. Mother Nature has tree branches covered in Spanish moss, and cobwebs grow from her head. Spanish moss represents protection. Cobwebs indicate issues in your life that feel overwhelming. You may feel like it is pointless to try and to deal with them. Mother Nature looks out over a somewhat barren landscape, yet this does not seem to be the situation. This is an ideal time to create a shift. It is time to clear out the cobwebs in your mind. Compose a powerful statement that you can repeat whenever necessary. Make sure your affirmation is easy for you to remember. If you are working on eating better, you might choose a phrase like, "I feel great when I eat healthy foods." Create a phrase that will best help you replace an outdated belief with something life-changing and positive. This is the perfect time for you to do so. Okay, I think this is more confirmation. And also, speaking of affirmations, with that being said, I am going to pull an additional deck. I did not initially plan to include this deck in this reading, but I have an affirmation deck that I'd like to pull for you. Okay, this affirmation deck is full of affirmations that were written by Louise Hay. Louise Hay was a really great metaphysical teacher, and she wrote the book You Can Heal Your Life. It's really really helpful. If you ever get a chance to check out the book, I'll link it in the description. Go ahead and read it. I think there's also an audiobook on YouTube if you prefer that. But I really love her affirmations, and this deck has really come out for me when I've needed to shift my mindset because I was caught on a loop. So here we go. We're going to pull a few for you. And just let these affirmations really take hold this season. Like, maybe try journaling and repeating these affirmations every day in your journal. So, affirmations that will most help pile one shift their mindset. Okay. We'll do this one first. I say yes to opportunity and abundance. I attract prosperity with ease. I constantly receive incredible gifts from life. Oh, that's good. So I'll hold this up in case you want to pause it and screenshot it. Keep it forever. Print it out, paste it on your mirror. And then I take a nice deep breath and release all resistance to healing. What was I saying at the beginning of this during the shuffle? There's resistance. I listen with love to my body's messages. That, with the Ten of Swords, I always think of body messages when I pull the Ten of Swords, because you've got these swords in the back. And when you are holding in mental anguish, it comes out in your body. Like, it manifests as aches and pains, or even illness if you go long enough without expressing your truth. And so if you are feeling like when you're around certain people or when you're in certain environments and and you don't want to be there, your body will let you know. You will tighten up. You will feel, I'm feeling like I need to tell you about how I figured out that I needed to stop being in relationship with my mother, which is a long story. I've written about it on my blog. So if you visit my website and look for my content under the inner work tab, you'll see my posts that I've written about dealing with my mother wound. If that resonates with you, I encourage you to read those and see if maybe you can relate to the experience and maybe get something out of the way that I've processed it for myself. But I spent years trying to make a relationship with my mother work, and I would always end up frustrated with her. And it took me a while to realize that, you know, I would meet with her and stuff and try and hang out with her, and for the longest time I was just like, yeah, you know, I'm hanging out with my mom and this is what we do and this is how it goes. And now that I have done a lot of healing work, I was able to recognize that I needed to stop hanging out with my mom and being around her and talking to her, because just being in her presence, I feel so knotted up and like how can I describe it? It's like being compressed and twisted up inside. And even though consciously I'm telling myself that I'm enjoying the experience and that I like hanging out with my mom, my body could not relax. It did not feel loose and fluid and flexible and safe and secure. My body felt guarded and closed up and stiff and like, I have to be a certain way and think and act and talk a certain way and be on guard so that I can protect myself from the negativity that I experience in this relationship. So that was a really big turning point for me that made me realize like, oh, you know, I kind of kept telling myself that I really like being around my mom, but actually I don't like being around her. I don't feel safe around her. I don't feel like I can be vulnerable around her. And it took having a really great relationship with my husband and some of my friends to recognize the difference between when you're in a relationship where you don't get to be your authentic self versus a relationship where you do get to be your authentic self and you can anticipate that you will be received and loved and accepted for who you are. And when you're in a relationship or in an environment where you don't have to hide or you don't have to close yourself off to protect yourself from being hurt, you feel open, you feel relaxed, and things just flow easily. You're not like gritting your teeth, you know, like that's yeah, so that was a lot. That's what wanted to come out with this. And so, you know, please take this affirmation with you, print it out, put it on your mirror, write it in your journal every single day. I take a nice deep breath and release all resistance to healing. We talked about how deep breathing exercises are really great for taking care of your lungs during this autumn season and for processing grief. So please do that. Please sit down and breathe. Okay. And those were the affirmations. I do have my self-care deck, which is what my intention was to use this in the reading. So I will draw you a self-care card, and we'll see what comes out. What are some self-care activities that pile 1 could use this autumn season? What will help get them through the autumn season? Okay, self-care activities or practices for pile 1, please. What is going to help them nourish their soul this autumn season and protect their energies. How can pile one? Ooh, take care of themselves. Be still. And at the bottom of the deck is connect with the earth. Grounding is always great. And we have be still here. You know, not so much with this card, but there is another deck, and I don't know the name of it, but it's on an app that I use. There is a Ten of Swords that depicts a woman that's just, you know, she's just completely released. And I'll Google the image and show it up here so you see what I'm talking about. But she's laying on her back, almost like she's on a chase lounge, and her body is completely limp, and there's the 10 swords. And that, when I get that particular 10 of swords, I feel really good. Not good, but I feel that it's that feeling of when you have suffered so much and you've finally just surrendered to the fact that you are suffering and a lot happened, and you just allow yourself to lay still. And something that I recommend that you do when you are feeling turbulence, internal turbulence, and you are feeling stirred, like your emotions and your thoughts and your mind is all very stirred, take a moment to just lie in stillness, and don't make a goal out of it. Don't be like, I have to do this and work through what's bothering me. Just lay down. I love to wrap myself in a blanket. I go into a dark room when I am feeling really out of sorts, and I just lay there and I feel my whole being, and I just let my mind wander and do what it needs to do. Eventually, excuse me, I had a little burp, sorry. But when I'm lying in that stillness and just focusing on how I feel internally, noticing my body, noticing my emotions, noticing my thoughts, and where my mind wanders, after about 10-15 minutes of that, something will trickle up to the surface that is like, oh, yeah, that thing happened and I feel really sad about it, or I feel really bad about it. And I just focus on that feeling and let myself witness it. And within about 10 to 20 minutes, usually that feeling dissipates and moves on, and I feel my energy come back to me, and then I'm able to get up and move on to what it is that I want to achieve and work on. And that's what I'm getting for you from this Be Still, the well-being card, this mental repetition, all these cards, is just let yourself be still. And that's how you process grief and emotions and stuckness and all the negativity that we can experience. And when you do that, you learn how to take care of yourself. That's what taking care of yourself is, and that's what acceptance is. And when we talk about acceptance and vibing high and things like that, you know, vibing high doesn't necessarily mean that you feel elation or that you're enthusiastic and you're just full of active energy. Vibing high can also mean sitting down with yourself and witnessing those sad and uncomfortable feelings that you feel, and saying to yourself, you know what, I see that you are there, I see what I'm experiencing, and it's so sad that I have to go through that, and being able to feel compassion towards yourself and being like, you know what, it is hard what I am going through, and it's obvious that this is hard because this is how I feel about it. I know that this is hard because I feel this way and my body feels this way, and I just need time to grieve this moment. And sometimes all it takes is 10 minutes of letting yourself feel the grief, feeling the deep, dense energy that's inside you, and then it can move through you. And that is how you practice self-acceptance. And that is all I've got for you today, Pile 1. That went places that I wasn't expecting. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really rooting for you. I feel like this is, that you're in the thick of it, and that you're going to come out on the other side of this, and that this season is going to be full of spiritual growth for you. Even if it's difficult, even if it's challenging, you are going to become so strong because of what you're going through now. So thank you so much. I'm really rooting for you. Have a great autumn season, and I will see you when I see you next. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Alright, hi there, Pile 2. If you picked the citrine, then this is your pile, and let's get right into it. First, we're going to pull cards just to get a general timeline of what's going to happen to you over the season of autumn, what's going to be under development from the autumnal equinox through to the winter solstice. So let's get started. Pile 2, what does Pile 2's autumn season have in store for them? What does their Pile 2 autumn season have in store for them? Pile 2's autumn season. What's going to be happening? Okay. Okay. Alright. Alright. There's a lot more pep to this one than the previous pile. Let's see. We have, the Tower, starting off autumn, the Three of Wands, the Seven of Cups. I think this one should belong here. And then we have the Six of Wands, the Three of Swords, and the Eight of Pentacles. What are you up to? So, Pile 2, they're slipping around, sorry. Your autumn is off to a real wicked start. That's what I'm seeing with the Tower here. I don't think that this is a bad Tower experience, but I do really get this vibe that there's a fire burning, and you have decided you've hit the fuck it button. that's kind of the vibe I'm getting here, is fuck it, we are burning this place down, and we are starting over. And congratulations. I'm really feeling it. I'm feeling like this is like a booyah, kick-ass moment for you that you're starting your autumn off with. I really wonder if you've decided to leave a job that you hated and there is something that you're saying good riddance to. And because you have said good riddance, you have opened up so many doors for yourself. You're being presented with a lot of options for how you can proceed from here. And with the Three of Wands, towards the, so I would say this is like this month, end of September, heading into October. You are going to choose something that you'd like to pursue and start investing in. My eye is drawn to the jewels and riches that are in this cup, but you see all these options here. You've got, a dragon. Some things are, like the dragon. This is mythical, this is like imagination. You get to imagine all kinds of different things. There's also something up here that has yet to be revealed, and other things that really can only live in your dreams. But you've got the riches here that I feel like you've got your eyes on the money. And from there, you are going to make your choice, and heading through October and into November, you're going to see some return on that choice. Maybe you invest with money into something, and it's towards the end of October that you're going to see the dividends pay off from that. And with the Six of Wands here, this is, you're going to be celebrating. And in fact, I noticed the wreath here, and there's like a little bit of that going on in that cup as well. And the Three of Swords has some heartbreak. So maybe what it is that your expectations are a little up in the clouds and not completely grounded. And it's this, whatever you're investing in, it's not going to be a bad outcome. It's going to be a Six of Wands type of outcome, but maybe it's just not quite what you were expecting. Like maybe your dream was to be really rolling in the deep, and maybe instead of rolling in the deep, sleeping on a bed of cash, you are, instead of sleeping on a bed of cash, you're sleeping on the same old bed, but you're able to pay your bills, and it's very comfortable living. So maybe that's a little bit where some of this disappointment comes in. But instead of being hung up on that disappointment, you are just going to feel motivated to work even harder. And really, that's such a great attitude to have here. You get a taste of how you have a knack for something here. You have a passion that you're exploring. And, even though it doesn't give you everything that you were dreaming of right away, through the end into September, or not, December is what I meant to say. Getting into the December month, you reflect on this disappointment and you think about, what could I have done better here? And for some reason, I'm really drawn to the different hilts of the swords here. There's 3 different swords. They don't look like each other. So, what's up with that? Are there 3 people that you're going into business with? You've got 2 3s here. So, overall, I don't think it's going to be a terrible outcome. I think maybe you do something with 2 other people and you make a trio, and maybe through this experience over the autumn you see a little bit of success, but it's not where you feel like it could be, and you think that maybe you'd be better off working on your own here and really honing your skills. And apologies. My dog is coming up to the table to be pet, so if you hear his jingling collar, I apologize for that. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah, and I feel like from this point forward, you're investing in yourself and your own skills rather than what would your interests, and investing in yourself is going to come first rather than investing in the group and what for the group's sake. Yeah, that's what I feel like is you're going to rise to the top, and you're going to see that your talent really stands out from the rest of the group that you're in, which is not to say anything bad about them. But some people are a solo show. Really great example. The Beatles were really great together, but they broke up. And then John Lennon, and they all went on to have their solo careers, and they accomplished great things within their solo careers as well. So sometimes people are just a one-man show. And through coming together in this group experience, even though like group is coming through, I keep seeing one person, like you get involved in a group, but it's really you. Like you have your talent and you're the main character, I guess is what I want to say. So with that being said, let's look at what you need to release this autumn season. We're going to be using the Seed and Sickle deck here. It's a really beautiful deck, and it comes with two booklets, and it's broken up into dawn and dusk. And for what needs to be released, we're going to look at the dusk booklet, and then afterwards we're going to look at what blessings are coming in for you over this season, and then we'll read from the dawn booklet. So let's start with what needs to be released. Let's see what comes out. What does pile 2 need to release? Okay. Oh, 2 cards flipped over here. I didn't even see that. We got the Seed. Okay, interesting thing to be released. We got Oak. And then this one landed on my plant over here. We got Magnolia. These are beautiful cards. So much pink energy, and you've got all this Wands red goodness too. Let's see, from the Dusk booklet. Let's see. This is kind of like a major arcana in this deck. You have 2 cards with, you have the Seed and the Sickle. So from here we have the Seed. Ooh, and even as I'm seeing this, I'm seeing like a story because acorns are the seeds of an oak tree, and you're starting out with a seed and it's sprouting, and then you have this oak and it's a thunderbolt, kind of like this tower moment over here. It's being charged with this thunderous energy, and it can burst forth and bloom. Whatever is being planted here is carrying a lot of energy. Here, I'm holding this up. You can pause if you want to read on your own, but otherwise I'll read it out loud. Seeds can remain dormant for many years, waiting for the right conditions to grow. This seed represents your potential for the future, but also the protective shell about it. Do not be afraid to contain yourself for a while, to take a deep breath and remain where you are until the right season comes around. A seed that sprouts too soon can fall prey to cold weather. Focus on yourself until you're sure that the frosts have passed. All right. Interesting. 13. Oak. And here's for, you can pause and read if you'd like, otherwise I'll read it out loud. Due to their great height, oak trees are those most likely to be struck by lightning, making them sacred to ancient gods of thunder such as Zeus, Perun, and Thor. Yet despite this propensity, the mighty oak stands strong and unyielding in times of adversity. With deep roots and sturdy branches, its great strength reminds us that we are self-sufficient, weathering any storm and emerging ready to face the next. Wow. An 8. Magnolia. Here's to pause and read if you'd like. And then, fossils of magnolia trees have been found to date back as far as 100 million years ago, practically unchanged from how they are today. They even predate bees, evolving alongside pollinating beetles. The gentle dignity of these trees displays a stability and grace throughout the ever-shifting ages, something we can all afford to learn from. Even if it feels as though the world about you is constantly changing, draw on the magnolia's quiet endurance and persevere. The time will be right for you again soon. Okay, so some repeating messages between the seed and magnolia about dormancy, and then the oak, because it stands so tall above all the others, it is the most prone to being struck by lightning. And one of the things that I almost wanted to mention when I saw the Six of Wands is one of the alternative interpretations to the Six of Wands is one more like mutiny, where the figure who's returning back from the desert and he's being celebrated, well, he catches the eye of some people who end up wanting to hurt him because they experience jealousy towards him. And so I wonder if, you know, you're shining kind of bright here, and maybe this ends up leading to a falling out, and maybe, you know, you're going up, and you're getting noticed, and people end up wanting to bring you back down. And through this experience, you might learn that it's time to just focus on honing your abilities and your craft, and that there will be a time for you to come out and sprout and blossom and bloom. So what I see is like a really strong desire here in the Seven of Cups to like achieve your dreams, and you want it really badly to be now and this season because you've had enough. And some, you know, there's also like a need for some humility when we talk about the Tower. And and even though I'm thinking that you should, you know, go forward, try and rein yourself in a little bit, I guess is what I am receiving as advice. And now that we've looked at what needs to, sorry for all my burps. What needs to be released, you know, what blessings are here for pile 2 during this autumn season? What blessings are here for pile 2? So, what blessings are here for pile 2 to make it through this season? What blessings are here for pile 2? What blessings are here for pile 2? Okay. So we've got, oh, you got 4 cards. Okay. We got Willow. And this one, whoops. Oh no, I got all jackknife. Okay. This one came out from behind the willow. So I think you're probably in for a little unexpected surprise. And then we have Elder. And this picture, the hand that comes up, not only do I see this as really similar to the Hamsa symbol, which is about protection from the evil eye, which if we're talking about envy from people in your environment, it's good to invest in some protection. But also I see this hand as kind of like telling you to pause and don't go full speed ahead. And then we have Holly. This bird is singing a beautiful little song here. So, okay. So we're going to read out of the Dawn booklet for this. So we'll start with Willow. Here it is to pause if you'd like to read. And then the willow tree is characterized by its thin, pliable branches, and it's time that you take a leaf out of its book. Learning to be more adaptable in your mindset is a valuable skill, and soon you're going to find yourself in a situation where you'll need to be more flexible. What were we just talking about? Kind of rein yourself in a little bit. Try not to get too stuck on thoughts of how you've always done things or how things have always been. Embrace a new outlook and try things differently. You may be surprised by the results. And then 2, Lily of the Valley. This was the surprise, the little treat. It's for if you want to pause and read. Lily of the Valley blooms at the same time that the nightingale returns from its yearly migration. Legend claims that this is because the lily fell in love with the nightingale's beautiful song. Which we have a bird here singing a song. Let's see. But with the lily too shy to confess its feelings, the nightingale is none the wiser and leaves each year for warmer climes. Don't let your reservations hold you back, or you might find that an opportunity is gone before you have the chance to take it. There is courage in being bold, and others will only know what you want once you find the strength to say it. So one thing that came to my mind is that you might have a nightingale in your life, or you might be somebody's nightingale to them, and you might be surprised to learn this over this season. Or, the other thing that I think of is that you're singing this song, this, you're really showing up and showing off, not necessarily like peacocking, like egotistically showing off, but I feel like you're shining really bright and in a way that it even could be perceived as threatening to others. And that, let's see, some mixed signals, huh? Because this one's like, yeah, sing your song, be bold, and some of these others are like, but don't be too bold. So let's move on to Elder. Let's see if this brings any clarity. Here we go. The elder is a tree beloved by mischievous magic and inhabited by pixies and ghosts around the world. Stopping beneath it for too long may lull you into a long and gripping sleep. Drawing this card is a warning. You may soon be tempted to slow down and take things easier, but doing so may mean you miss some key opportunities. Whatever waits to lure you away from your goal, don't let it distract your focus. I'm just as confused as you are. I feel like we're getting totally opposite messages. Maybe you are struggling with a decision like this, like should I slow down or should I be bold? Here's Holly. Like the lightning forks of a holly branch, very interesting that lightning would come up again. You stand at a fork in the road, a decision before you. Oh, yeah. which path will lead you where you want to go, and which may lead you to an unexpected destination or lead you astray. You're running out of time to make your choice, but know that once you've chosen your path, there's no turning back. Make sure you've thought this through carefully. Okay, so I think the messages about hesitating on jumping really forward is to make sure that you are really sure about what you want to go for. Because if you're going to do something, you really need to commit to it the way that the Eight of Pentacles does. Like, you know, he's really committed to this craft of his. He's created 8 whole pentacles, and as he progresses through each one, it gets better and better and better. He gets better and better at his craft. And, you know, whatever you choose over here, it's not necessarily that you're in danger of, let's say, you know, you want to really give a lot of thought to what you're committing yourself to and what it means to you. You don't want to jump into things just because you have the energy to jump. You want to pause and think about what your next move is going to be, like this 3 of Wands here. And make sure that when you are acting, that you act in a way that is considerate to the people around you. Maybe you have family that depends on you. You know, you could have dependents, and if you choose to really shake up your life, it could have ripple impacts on the people around you that maybe you weren't considering when you were just like, oh, well, I'm just gonna live my life. So that's something to consider. Think about how others are going to be impacted. And let's revisit this Lily of the Valley just to jog my memory. I am very distractible, so I often forget things immediately after I say them. Okay, so Lily of the Valley is really talking about being able to ask for what you want from others. So maybe you need to think about, be considerate to how your actions are going to impact the people around you, and also consider asking for their support and including them in your decision-making process. And so that when you do choose to make a change, you're not blindsiding people, and you're not leaving people feeling like their support or somebody that they depend on is abandoning them. So this is how you can actually strengthen your relationships and avoid heartbreak. Okay, very interesting. Let's go to the Whispers of Healing Oracle. This deck is way too large for me to do my manic shuffle, so I just intuitively cut it, and we are going to draw 2 cards. So kindness, mental repetition. I drew this card for pile 1, but this reading is a really different vibe from pile 1. Pile 1 was more about stuck energy and being really in the pits of despair, and this pile is really chomping at the bit. The shuffling pattern is completely different and everything. So but mental repetition, that card talks about how you can use affirmations to break negative thought patterns and to release and shift self-limiting beliefs. So because this came up, I'm going to do what I did for pile 1 and bring out my affirmation deck and pull some affirmation cards for you that will help you through this autumn season. You can use these affirmations, journal them every day, write them down, repeat them. print them out, post them on your mirror, put it somewhere where you're going to see it every day, and just every time you feel like you're being challenged or like you're falling on hard times, just repeat these to yourself and try and get comfort out of them. So let's pull some affirmations. As I was saying that earlier, I suddenly started feeling some internal turbulence, like maybe some sudden grief. So if you are hiding any grief, like maybe you are so eager to move on from this moment, you don't take time to grieve it, and it comes and bites you later. So, and we talked about how autumn is all about grief and being able to release and let go. And part of releasing is allowing yourself to experience and feel the emotion of grief. Because if you don't let yourself feel it or acknowledge that it exists for you, you're bound to have it sneak up on you and come out in a more destructive way later down the road. So here's some affirmations. Here we go. Some affirmations for pile 2 that will benefit them this autumn season. I'm going to take this one because it flipped over. And I appreciate others for who they are. I accept that I cannot learn other people's lessons for them. They must do the work themselves, and they will do it when they are ready. Okay. That's a great one. Maybe there's some people that you want to take on this path with you that aren't ready to be on that path. I support myself in making the right choices for me. All these cards were talking about making choices. I am incredibly capable. Whenever I encounter a challenge in my life, I use the experience to learn and grow. That's kind of what I was saying, is that through this, in the beginning, like, you feel like it's supposed to be riding high, but something's not right, and you take that experience to learn to better yourself, basically. And kindness here. When I pulled this card, I felt like saying, a little kindness goes a long way. So if you're rubbing up against conflicts with other people, sometimes it helps to just try and be a little nice. and even though they might be really sending you up a tree, if you can make your words nice and just remind yourself that they're a person too, and they are going through their own things and working at things at their own pace, and trying to reserve your expectations about how things should be or how people should be. Reserve those expectations for yourself more than others. Of course, you are, it's perfectly fine to have needs that you need met in a relationship, but expecting people to be on your level all the time is really, well, it's kind of like the parent that that expects too much of their kid, that like you have to be a straight A student and you have to do all your chores and be perfect. It's like a kind of expression of perfectionism. just because you've done all of this healing work doesn't mean that everybody else finds it as easy as you do, or even feels the need for it. And that's totally okay. And you don't necessarily need them to be on a healing journey with you in order to get your needs met. You can also just communicate kindly and say, like, hey, I'd really feel better if you did this. Or like, when you make comments like that, I feel so bad, and it makes me really feel sad, and I really want to feel like you love me and support me. And what are some ways that we could increase the support in our relationship so that we both are happy and healthy? That's one way you can approach it. So, kindness. And then some self-care cards. So, what are some self-care practices that will help Pile to get through this autumn season? Some self-care practices. Okay. One more, please. Self-care practices for pile 2. There we go. Okay. So what do you know? We've got positive affirmations. And here we go. You've got your affirmations. So please practice these. I feel like they will really help you shift your perspective and your mindset about this situation. Oops, sorry for the shakiness. Oh ho, ho ho ho. Okay. We got sex. I really hope that you're of age. We got the number 44. Maybe it's time to address some sexual issues in a relationship. This card isn't just about allowing yourself to explore your sexuality. It's also exploring what blocks you from enjoying sex or engaging in it. But I really think connecting with people is one of the themes that have been coming out in this reading. So maybe, if you're not interested in sex, if you are not old enough to be having sex, or you don't have a sexual partner, maybe you could use this as a sign to try and deepen your connections with the people in your life. Allow yourself to be a little more vulnerable with people, because sex is a very vulnerable act, and it's about releasing control and surrendering to a state of oneness with another person. And this can be really, really challenging if you've ever experienced interpersonal trauma, or if you have really strong attachments to your identity. When you unite with someone, come into union with someone, it can feel like a loss. And that's another thing that we must grieve sometimes. And yeah, that's where I'm gonna leave that, I think. And so that's all I have for you, pile 2. Thank you so much for coming to this reading. I really hope that you got a lot out of this. If anything resonated with you, I would really love it if you left a comment. And even if it didn't resonate, your feedback is really helpful to me. It really helps me hone my craft. So I really, really, really appreciate feedback. It helps me so much. And, please enjoy your autumn season. And I will see you guys next Friday. Bye-bye. Hello there, Pile 3. Glad that you're here. If you picked the carnelian, then this is your pile. And let's get started. We are going to draw cards to get an overall timeline of how your autumn is going to go. And we'll start that now. All right. Okay. Off to a really quick start. What's going to be happening in Pile 3's autumn? What's going to happen over the course of autumn for Pile 3? What's going to happen over the course of Pile 3's autumn? Okay. Ooh. Sorry, I had to scoot a little closer to make it easier on my back. What's going to happen over the course of Pile 3's autumn? How will their autumn season progress? And just so you know, there's another card here. Wow. I feel like you're getting a surprise. Something you weren't expecting. You weren't expecting your hard work to pay off, maybe. And here we go. Okay. Oh, let me make sure this is center. Okay. Pile 3. I feel like I want to clarify these last two cards. Let's clarify the Four of Pentacles, please. Yeah, I'm getting held in emotions. Especially because I see the way this... Okay, well, first let me show you the cards. We have the Hanged Man. We have the Hierophant. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Then we have the Sun, which was behind the Queen of Pentacles. This is a surprise. We have the Nine of Wands, the Four of Pentacles, and then we have the Queen of Cups clarifying the Four of Pentacles. And let's get some clarification for the Nine of Wands too. I want to know if this Nine of Wands is Pile 3 or a person in their life. Okay, we got two cards. Eight of Wands and Seven of Swords. Ooh. Eight of Wands. Seven of Swords, which I felt like, let's start off with what's going on. I think you're going to experience a rapid ascension, basically. Like, after giving something up, something has been delayed due to bureaucracy. The Hierophant is coming through as bureaucracy for me. Bureaucracy. I don't know why I keep saying that wrong. You know, when I see the Hangman and the Hierophant together, I think of delays due to things having to be done a certain way, and to me that screams bureaucracy. So maybe you've gone through an application process and you're like, man, I really want to know what the result is going to be, or I really want this to move on and move forward. And the Hierophant is like, well, you know what? We have rules to follow. We have procedures we need to do. This needs to be handled a very particular way. And so through the first month or so of autumn, I see you kind of being at a standstill and just waiting, in a period of waiting, and waiting for an institution. This could be college, a education institution. This could be work for the government, or maybe there's an application towards the government or towards a banking, financial institutions, especially with the pentacles here. But ultimately, it's going to come out in your favor. You've got the Queen of Pentacles and the Sun here, which was hidden behind her. So part of me wants to say the one thing that comes to mind is an unexpected pregnancy. If that's on the cards for you, well, okay. What I mean to say, if that's something that you would enjoy and welcome into your life, congratulations. If not, then I wouldn't worry about it, because if you don't want to have a child, it's not going to appear as the sun, coming out. This is a happy card, so it's about an outcome that you want. So something is going to bring you unexpected happiness, maybe security. I think that was a word that came to mind when I drew the Queen of Pentacles here. But then something is going to rapidly develop, and I really feel like there's an element here. I see this character in the Nine of Wands, and he's glancing over here, and looks really bitter. Yeah, to me, I feel like he looks really bitter. And maybe there's somebody in your life who really struggles and sees you succeeding and kind of takes that the wrong way and keeps their feelings to themselves. The Seven of Swords, it gets associated with theft, but to me, I also think of it as kind of spiritual bypassing. And perhaps that's, especially with the Queen of Cups here, perhaps some element of spiritual bypassing is at play. I don't know if it's for yourself or for someone that you're involved with. Four of Pentacles is very much about kind of holding on to material wealth, but not really accessing the wealth of the spirit to feel abundant and to be in flow with abundance. It's like holding on and not wanting to let it go. Which one of the themes of autumn is release. And, it could be that, sorry, I had to get a sip of water. It could be that you come into some abundance, maybe an inheritance. If we're seeing the Hierophant there, you might come into an inheritance that was unexpected. And because you have this increase in material assets, you start to become a little paranoid about losing it and feeling like you have to keep guard of it. That's kind of what I'm getting, and it's going to happen so fast. And really, we're seeing like the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Pentacles is about staying grounded through things like that, and being able to come into flow. The suit of cups is all about water, and water flows. It flows down a current, and it flows down the path of least resistance. And the more you hang on to something, the not only are you taking it out of the natural current of flow of abundance, but it's like putting a dam up in the river, and then the river can't flow anymore. And of course it pools up, and you can say, oh, I have all this water here pooled up by my dam. But also, like, the water gets stagnant if it can't flow freely. And that's where we see this Four of Pentacles energy, which is, it's damming up the flow of abundance. And when we talk about flow of abundance, I have this book I want to recommend. It's called, well, let me grab it. It's right next to me. Here we go. It's Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead by Tosha Silver. She does some oracle decks that you might have seen be used in some pick a card readings. This book was recommended to me by my therapist, actually, and it is really wonderful for teaching you how to surrender. And not only through surrender do you let go of things that are meant to leave your life, and learn not to hang on so much to things that maybe are meant to stay, but because you're gripping them so tightly they can't breathe, so it becomes like not as enjoyable. Where am I going with this? Sorry. It helps you feel at peace with surrendering to being open to what life is going to bring into your possession and what it's going to take out of your possession, and knowing that we do not there's nothing that we can possess forever. Nothing. We're all going to die. We're all going to become dispossessed of our bodies at some point, and the same goes for materials and abundance and things like that. There is a flow, but if you are instead of being the dam in the river, if you allow things to flow freely and to really surrender your need to control over to divine, into the universe, then you are able to trust that the universe can provide for you whatever you need at all times, even if you're not constantly expanding or accumulating and things like that. And with autumn being the theme of release and letting go, I really see that maybe sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I think it's time for me to move on to the Seed and Sickle Tarot. So I will move these up here. Let's see. Okay. So the Seed and Sickle Tarot, well, it's an oracle. It comes with two booklets. One is Dusk and the other is Dawn. Dusk is for what is being released from life. It's kind of like what needs to be let go and reaping your harvest and stuff and going inward. And the Dawn is all about opportunities and what's coming into bloom and what's sprouting for you. So we are going to use this deck right now to identify what it is that needs to be released in your life. So for pile 3, what needs to be released? How can we focus and help pile 3 release what needs to go? Okay, what needs to be released in pile 3's autumn season experience? What is calling to be released? got basil. Interesting head. Looks like scratches. And then we got hops. I think this came out, well, I know it came out in one of the previous piles, but I can't remember which one. And then we got feverfew. Okay, so we're going to be reading from the Dusk booklet now. So we'll start with basil. And here it is. You can pause and read it if you'd like. Otherwise, I'll read it out loud. There is growth to be found in helping others achieve the same goal. In India, a leaf of holy basil is placed on the forehead of the deceased to ensure that Vishnu will see them and welcome them into heaven. By giving your time and energy to others, you will draw the same good energy that you are giving away towards yourself. Okay, and then 26, hops. Here it is, to pause if you'd like to read it. The hop vine speeds ahead through life, voraciously grabbing at each new hurdle it must conquer. But as it grows, it leaves behind clusters of flowers. These take life much more casually. With the vine having done the hard work already, they can now reap the benefits. Hop flowers are a great treatment for anxiety and insomnia. Step back, find a spot in the sun, and soak up that restful energy. Okay, and then 28. Here it is to read. There we go. Feverfew is known as a companion plant as it helps others to grow stronger and healthier simply by being nearby, its strong scent protecting its allies from insects and other pests. Friends and family have always rallied around you, and now it's time to return some of that support. Someone near you is struggling. Who haven't you heard from for a while? Reach out to them and return some of the love you've received from them in the past. Your own emotional wealth is bountiful right now. Be generous with it. So some repeating themes about generosity and holding on. What I see is coming back to that abundance and flow issue is that one of the really sneaky ways that scarcity mindset shows up is feeling in competition with others and feeling like, you know, you have to hold on or you have to be scrupulous with your resources or the attention that you get from others because you feel that there isn't enough to go around for everybody. So if you can let yourself relax and practice gratitude for what is showing up in your life, you won't have to hang on to it so hard. You don't have to fear loosening your grip. It's not going to just run away the moment you relax. You can loosen your grip on whatever it is you're holding on to and know that you have enough to go around, and that whatever it is you're hanging on to, there is enough to go around for everyone. You don't need to be this Four of Pentacles man who's holding in. And I guess I didn't really elaborate on spiritual bypassing, but that's kind of when you try and move through an experience without feeling the hard and challenging feelings associated with it. So if you end up feeling a loss and you want to be like, oh, I'm so healed, I'm over it, but you haven't had an opportunity to really feel the grief and be in it and cry it out or something like that, that's spiritual bypassing. So I'm losing my train of thought again. That's interesting that this is happening in this pile. Well, I'm guessing that whatever I was going to go on about wasn't really what needed to be said. So I'm going to move on to what are the blessings that are coming into this autumn season for you guys. So what blessings are coming for pile 3? What blessings are coming for pile 3? You know, the Belladonna just came out, and I had seen that in the booklet and thought to myself, oh, it'd be funny if that came out. And then it did. Okay, here we go. We got our blessings. First came Foxglove. This came out in another reading as well. I know that one came out in pile 1. Belladonna. Pimpernel. And it's got a compass on it. Maybe a moral compass with the 7 of Swords here. Let's look. We're going to read out of the Dawn guidebook now. So let's look at number 18. Foxglove. When Foxglove came out in the earlier pile, it was for the Dusk book. So now we're seeing the other meaning of it. So here it is if you'd like to read it. And then Saint Necton came to his violent end at the hands of 2 cattle thieves who beheaded him when he confronted them. Determined not to die away from his home, he simply picked up his head and walked back to his hut, where he finally lay down and died. Foxglove sprung from where his blood fell along the way. Others may try to advise you otherwise, but you know the best time and place for the goals that you want to achieve. Rely on yourself for guidance and meet your deadlines on your own terms. That's crazy. We got the thieves, which we have the 7 of Swords here. And then we have the head, which we have here in the basil, talking about lying down and dying and how holy basil is placed on the deceased in India so that Vishnu may recognize them and welcome them into heaven. So perhaps there's a confrontation in your future, which I'm sorry if that's the case. I really hate having to deliver news like this, but the ultimate outcome though is that, you know, you can trust yourself and trust your intuition. You have the Queen of Cups here. You have a very strong intuition. And as for Belladonna, here's this one. And then Belladonna is a card of inevitability and sacrifice. You have the Hangman here. Inevitability, 8 of Wands. Sacrifice, you know, kind of also this vibe with the 9 of Wands. There is a conflict inside you, making it difficult to focus on the task at hand. The shears of Atropos, the Greek goddess of fate who gives Atropa Belladonna its name, are snipping at the threads you've carefully put into place. Perhaps it is time to sit back and consider where things have become entangled. You may have to place some of your other projects aside to stop the main ones from becoming completely knotted. Oh, interesting. Pimpernel. Here it is. The pimpernel is also known as the shepherd's weather glass, as it can both tell the time of day and foretell incoming weather. Its petals always close up at noon and will only open again if it's due to be sunny. If rain is on its way, the flowers won't open at all. You find yourself in a position of not being certain which direction to take, but all the signs you need to make the right decision are there. You just need to trust in your ability to spot them. I feel like that kind of echoed back what I was saying about surrendering to the divine. And a lot of what Tosha Silver goes on about is that, you know, you have the innate ability to recognize when it is time to act and make a choice or take an action to move towards what you want to call into your life. So when you petition the universe to bring an element into your life, whether you're calling in abundance or you're calling in creativity or you want to invite in healing or truth or something like that, once you make that petition and release it into the universe, you have to let go of the impulse to try and control how it's going to manifest. And this goes for all manifestation in general. But letting go of the outcome and allowing it to show up however it's going to show up for you, and being able to have faith in yourself to be able to know innately when is the right time to act. And I have a really great recent example of this happening for me, I guess, and it's really like a small example. It wasn't necessarily about a manifestation, but it helped me recognize the difference between trying to think about when I'm supposed to act and just doing it and knowing when the time is right to do that and it working out for me. So the other day I was on the freeway and I was driving to an appointment, and I generally take the far left lane to get to this destination because it's a long distance, and it helps me bypass some of the accumulation of slowdown and traffic on the way there. And on this particular day, I was listening to audio lectures on my CD player, and I was really enjoying the experience of learning. And I found myself just automatically transitioning over to the far right lane, the exit lane. And I thought to myself, this is a good couple of miles before the point when I typically do this. But you know, I don't feel like I need to be in that other lane today. I feel really comfortable being in the slow lane today, and I'm having a really chill day. So I was just going along, and you know what? About a mile later down the road, there was a car who, when I was on the left lane, had been just, like, I was in the left lane and he was like only this much further ahead of me while I was driving in the left lane. So I had gone over, a couple lanes, and we are progressing, and suddenly that car, his whole ass tire flew off his car and bounced across the freeway. It didn't hit anyone, thank goodness. Nobody was hurt. But if I had not gotten over at that precise moment that I did, I would have been like in the blast range of that tire, and if not in the direct blast range, I would have had very little stopping distance or ability to avoid being hit by the tire because of how we weren't that far away from each other. But because I had gotten over into this slow lane and I had kind of decreased my speed a little bit and relaxed, I had plenty of space between me and that whole event happening to be able to calmly stop. I didn't even feel any anxiety. I was completely calm while this was happening. And it was just like, oh, wow, somebody's tire flew off and it's careening across the freeway. I just saw it launch itself into space off the guardrail. It hit a wall and then bounced back into a ditch. It didn't hit anybody. Nobody was hurt. And I just calmly drove on to my exit, and I was so amazed by that. And I think and what that experience taught me is that, like, you really will just know when to act. I really felt like I had acted on a very deep intuitive level back there. Because I wasn't thinking like, oh, I need to be making this turn here so that I can maximize my efficiency of arriving to my destination by a certain time. No, in that moment, I was just like, you know what? It's time to move over. It's time to chill out. and I was chill all the way to my appointment, and I was perfectly on time for it either way, and I wasn't worried about whether or not I was going to be late or whether I had to be in control of my itinerary and whatnot. And I just acted when it felt right. It just felt right. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to explain or find any reasoning for acting a certain way. I just did it because it felt good. And that is what these cards are talking about, is knowing that you don't have to be in control of how you arrive at your destination. You will know when it's time to make a turn, because it'll just happen. And it happened automatically for me. I just automatically did that action that ended up securing my safety in that situation. And, you know, when I'm looking at this reading, I do see delays, and maybe there's some frustration around that, like, why do the rules have to be this way? But try and think about how a challenge is being done for you, not how it's being done to hurt you. And you might be able to glean some blessings, like what I experienced on the highway the other day. And when you do come into your sunny day and your abundance here, this is going to be like the middle of the season, so like November, coming into November, maybe Thanksgiving. Don't worry too much about needing to protect what you've come into possession of and what you've earned. Just let it be there. And let me, when you're so worried about losing something that you worked so hard to get, you are stealing your own happiness from yourself. Because you're too preoccupied with what could happen to it and protecting it and all that, to really sit and be in the experience of enjoying it, and having this sunny moment. So, okay, and we did this for another couple piles. Well, okay, first actually I'm going to do the Healing Whispers Oracle deck. This is too big for me to do my manic shuffling, so I'm just going to intuitively cut it and draw 2 cards. Okay. What healing messages does pile 3 need to hear? Self-love. Sensitivity. Okay. So this card, sensitivity, is about being sensitive to your environment and the energies that are in it. And self-love is really just about, it's about self-love. It's about nourishing yourself. I think I'll read from the booklet for the self-love card. Okay, so here it is, if you'd like to pause to read it or save it. You might be feeling downhearted or melancholy because you haven't fully grasped how to appreciate who you are. The ability to truly love yourself complements your capacity to fall in love with others and the world as a whole. Self-love means acknowledging the light within yourself. You are a sacred part of the mystery and miracle of life. Perhaps you have struggled to rally esteem, respect, or love for who you are. Maybe you are looking outside of yourself for validation. You may expect friends, family, a partner, coworkers, or your bank account to provide you with your sense of worth. This expectation leads to illusion. The truth of who you are is inside you always. You are unique. You have your own process and your need to be yourself. Quiet your mind and go within to find your self-esteem, awareness, and inner peace. This will lead you away from worry, judgment, and mistrust. As you learn to extend the quiet periods in your mind, you will begin to be more in heart, where you will recognize truth, intuition, and acceptance. This maiden hugs herself in an act of self-love. Her nakedness emphasizes her vulnerability in the process she is going through. The stag supports time taken alone. The lionfish encourages you to face your inner demons. With the help of the lionfish, you can stand strong and face whatever you might have been hiding from. Work on loving yourself a little more each day. You deserve to love yourself more. Oh, what a sweet message. Yeah, sorry for the shakiness. Some of this reminds me of what I was going on about mistrust. When you're in this scarcity mindset, like, oh, I need to hang on to this because something might happen if I don't. That's kind of like this Seven of Swords. You're stealing your own happiness from yourself. And if you can surrender to divine process, like in that book that Tosha Silva wrote, and I'll also link the book in the description, you find a sense of security that can't come from external things and holding on to things and stuff. You have this sense that you are taken care of by the universe, and being able to fully surrender to that, you find a different type of security than this type of security, than this Four of Pentacles type of security. It's more like a Queen of Pentacles type of security, where it's like, yeah, I've got this pentacle, but I'm good even if I don't have it. I have my earthiness and my self-love. And the vulnerability thing, I think that was kind of touched on a little bit with the spiritual bypassing. It can be really hard to sit and bear witness to your inner demons, and to sit with them and sit at the table with them and just let them be there without trying to push it down and push it away and be like, no, I don't want to feel this right now. I want to go and be happy and be successful and joyous and all that. That can be really, really difficult. I understand. I had to learn how to do that for myself. But if you can find a way, and we'll pull some affirmation cards to hopefully help you find a way, to just sit and be present with yourself. Sit with that feeling of insecurity, that feeling of I'm scared of losing this. I'm scared that if I don't hold on, it's going to run away. If you can sit with that feeling and notice that that feeling comes from a fear of being vulnerable, of being naked. And think about how sad it is, that you don't feel safe enough to be yourself, to really bear witness to your own soul. Whatever happened to you in your past to make you feel that way, you didn't deserve that. And being able to say that to yourself and really mean it, that is a huge act of self-compassion, and it takes practice to learn how to do it, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so I really encourage you to think of yourself as a child, and think about what, instead of thinking of yourself as yourself, think of yourself as a child, and think about, like, if you saw a child going through those feelings, wouldn't you think, like, that poor thing, that poor child, and want to give it a hug? That's kind of what I do with myself when I'm feeling that way. So let's get some affirmations and see what would be helpful for you during this autumn season to focus on. You can take these affirmations and journal them every single day, write them out. or print them out, tape them on your mirror, put them somewhere where you're going to see them every day, and just repeat them over and over until you notice your mind starts to shift. So let's see, what affirmations would help pile 3? What can they focus on this autumn? Okay. What would benefit pile 3 to focus on this autumn? Okay. So we have, if I follow my inner wisdom, I am at peace with my own being. I completely trust the intelligence within me to guide me to the right path. The universe supports me in every positive way. What were we just talking about? Wonderful. I open myself to all good. I receive life's gifts with joy and pleasure and gratitude. These are great. And now we're going to move on to some self-care cards. Give yourself a little bit of self-love through self-care. When you find yourself feeling challenged or out of sorts, try and remember these couple of tasks and just take some time to do them. Carve out some time to do whatever comes out in these cards. What self-care would be beneficial for pile 3 during the season of autumn? How can they best take care of themselves and invite in healing and security and a sense of safety and gratitude? What would be most beneficial to pile 3? Okay. Okay. That's too many. We got our whole thing messed up here. We got positive affirmations. This came out in the last pile. Very interesting. So, take these affirmations to heart. Really put them into practice. It works for me. I pull from this deck whenever I'm feeling lost, and they bring me a lot of comfort when I'm feeling down. The last one is spend time with friends. I'm sorry, my neighbors are playing really loud music, so if you can hear that, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure you probably can't hear it. Either way, spend time with friends. One of the ways we experience abundance is through friendship and connections, and being able to connect with people who reflect love back to us is a really great way to eventually, when you spend enough time around people who make you feel good and safe and secure, and you're safe to be vulnerable with them, and you can really be your authentic self and know that you're going to be received with love. The more you hang out with people like that, eventually you internalize the way they show up for you, and you begin to show up for yourself the way they're showing up for you, and then you can do that and show up for other people that way. And that's the real true value of beautiful friendships. And that's all I have for you. My neighbors are back from work and they are ready to party, so I hope you're ready to party after you get through your autumn season. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your feedback if this resonated for you, and even if it didn't resonate for you, your feedback really helps me hone my craft. It helps me work on my abilities, and so thank you so much for considering leaving a comment, and I will see you guys next Friday. Bye-bye.